it's well known that kings and queens like to have their own way. The king in this story was particularly autocratic. His orders had to be obeyed promptly, no backtalk and no discussion. Now, on clear nights, this king liked to go up to the roof of his palace and look up at the sky. He would admire the stars and the planets and the moon, especially the moon. One night, he had a strange idea. He wanted to touch the moon. He felt that if he could do that, he would be truly happy. The next day, he sent for his royal carpenter and explained to him that he wanted a tower built that extended up to the sky. The carpenter was astonished. He said, "Sire, it can't be done." "Can't?" Said the king. "Can't? In my kingdom, there's no such word as can't. I want you back here tomorrow with a plan. And if you're foolish enough to come without a plan, I'll have you stretched on the rack to encourage creativity." The carpenter left with his head bowed, looking very anxious indeed. But the next morning he arrived back at the throne room, and he was erect. He looked brisk and businesslike. He had a plan. He explained to the king that his plan involved building a very tall tower to the sky out of chests by stacking up strong wooden chests. Initially, the king was skeptical of this unusual architectural approach, but the carpenter explained that if done carefully, it would actually work. A decree was sent out throughout the kingdom that all citizens must bring their chests to the palace. Those who were disinclined to bring their chests were reminded that there was plenty of room in the royal prisons. So the chests started arriving. They're old and new, ornate and plain, hundreds and hundreds of them. It was quite a sight. And when they were assembled, the carpenter and his crew set to work. They started stacking them up, chest upon chest, one on top of another, and the tower started to grow. When they were finished, when they used all the chests, it was really an astonishing structure. It reached almost to the clouds. Almost to the clouds. Well, that's good, but it was certainly not to the sky. What to do? So the king ordered the carpenter to use all available lumber. All lumber was put at his disposal to build many more chests and extend the tower. This was done, and until there was no more wood left in the kingdom, and the tower was extended up to the clouds. Now that was astonishing, but it still wasn't up to the sky. So the king summoned both the carpenter once again and his royal forester, and explained that they were to cut down as many trees as necessary to mill into boards to build more chests and extend his tower up to the sky. This was done, and it was a big job, but they got to work cutting down trees, milling wood, building chests, extending the tower up. As it turned out, it took every single tree in the kingdom to do it. But it was finally completed. The tower actually extended all the way up to the sky. It was an astonishing thing. It was a talk of the kingdom, and it was truly one of the wonders of the world. The king was delighted, and the timing was auspicious too for project completion, because that night there would be a full moon. The king announced that he was going to make his ascent that night at midnight. The carpenter and his crew attended, along with a large crowd of well-wishers, all standing around the palace, around the tower, and the king started his climb. He went, up and up and up, and finally he reached the very top chest, and he stood upon the very top chest. There was the moon just above him, so close. He reached up, he reached as high as he could, but he couldn't quite touch it. He so frustrated. He felt just one more chest, one more would do it, just one more. He shouted down, "Bring me up another chest." The carpenter looked around, shouted back, "Sire, there are no more chests, and there's no more wood to build one." The king sat down on the top chest and thought for a minute. What to do? The assembled crowd waited far below in the moonlight. It was very quiet, waiting to hear what the king would say. "Pull out one of the chests and bring it up to me." "I can't do that, sire," shouted the carpenter. And from far below they could hear the king's voice, faint in the distance. "Can't? Can't? There's no such word as can't in my kingdom. Do as I order you." The carpenter shrugged and motioned his men to do as the king asked, to pull out one of the bottom chests. Well, you can probably guess what happened next. The vast tower collapsed. Hundreds and hundreds of chests raining down from the sky, old and new, ornate and plain, and of course the king as well, who did not survive the fall. So that was the end of the king that always had to have his own way and who wanted, above all, to touch the moon.